What's up, gang? Kawaii50 back with another Fate Grand Order Servant Breakdown. And yes, we finally have an opportunity to talk about the poster child of the Fate franchise. I know, weird, right? Who would have expected this in Fate Grand Order, where it seems like she honestly gets snubbed at every turn. But not today, folks. Today is her day. Today is the time to talk about Artoria Pendragon. Well, in her alter form. And we're going to put up her Shinjuku 1999 costume because, let's be real, that's the best costume for this servant. Speaking of other best things for this servant, let's talk about the best craft essences, allies, and command codes, so your Saber alter can truly use the unbridled power of Excalibur Morgan to its full potential. Hopefully this video helps you out, and if it does, consider liking and subscribing. Artoria Alter runs a quick 2 arts and 2 buster deck with an AoE buster type Noble Phantasm. Her max HP of 11,589 is honestly not that great, especially considering, I'm going to tell you right now, she doesn't really have any defensive skills in order to help her survivability, so she'll need to rely entirely on support. Her max attack, however, is fairly impressive at 10,248. Her NP per hit stat, while average at a 0.86% and is pretty generous, the fact that her arts cards only hit twice means it's not going to refund as much as you might hope. That is unfortunately the pitfall of being an earlier release servant. Her star absorption, though, is still pretty solid at a 99. It's what you can expect from a Saber. Artoria Alter's first skill is Mana Burst, rank A. This increases her buster card effectiveness by 30 to 50% for 1 turn. You will always, if at all possible, want to use this before using Artoria's Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is her primary source of damage, and the thing you're going to want to focus on, especially if you're using her for farming. Since this is such a powerful source of damage, we are going to max this skill first. Artoria's second skill, however, did receive a great update recently to Star of Twilight rank A. This increases her NP gauge by 20% and also gains 10 to 20 critical stars. This is absolutely delightful and is on a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. We're still going to go ahead and level this last, mainly because the main thing that gets pumped up by this are the stars. And we don't need to super worry about the stars. The main thing we want to worry about is that Noble Phantasm gauge you get refunded, because it is a very important component of her buff, especially on JP in the future. And Artoria's final skill is Charisma rank E. This increases the attack of all allies by 6 to 12% for 3 turns. It's a pretty small attack bonus, but since it's just a general attack bonus, it pretty much helps everyone. So you can go ahead and max this skill second to help out Artoria as well as the rest of your team. For Artoria Alter's append skill, we absolutely want mana loading. This allows her to start with a 10 to 20% NP gauge already charged, which means if you want to farm, you won't necessarily need a maximum broken kaleidoscope. Heck, you might not even need a kaleidoscope at all, just something that gives you a starting 60% NP charge. You'll be able to get by with just that. And Artoria's Noble Phantasm is, of course, the supremely powerful and incredibly iconic Excalibur Morgan, the Sword of Promised Victory. This deals 450 to 650% damage to all enemies, and will also slightly restore Artoria's Noble Phantasm gauge depending on level of overcharge. You can get a 10 to 30% refund from this Noble Phantasm. So if you're using it in a chain with other Noble Phantasms, be sure to go ahead and chuck this last to maximize the gains you're getting from it. It is a supremely strong Noble Phantasm. You'll notice the damage on it, and as with most Noble Phantasms, the ideal sweet spot is to hit NP2. NP1 to NP2 is the biggest jump in terms of damage. So who do we pair Artoria with in order to maximize her Heaven's Feel tier destructive potential? Well, of course, we mainly want a Buster type supporter. This means Merlin for focused boss fights, and Koyanskaya of Light if you happen to be on JP when it comes to farming, or if you're an NA person watching this 2 years from now. Thanks to her boost on her intuition skill, this means that Artoria Alter does have the capabilities to loop within the Koyanskaya system. That's right, she can farm entirely by herself, and I'm sure there are a lot of Artoria fans out there that are supremely excited about that. But not everyone has specifically those 5 stars, so are there maybe other 5 stars, or heck, even other characters that can pair well with Artoria? Well, that answer is yes, and let's go ahead and go over 5 of them. Let's start, of course, with an option that every player will get eventually, and that is Gaius Julius Caesar. Caesar is actually an incredible saber supporter for Artoria Altar. His tactic skill will increase her noble phantasm damage, he has his own charisma skill, which stacks with Artoria's altars, and most importantly, he has his Insight rank EX skill, which can increase her critical damage by 20 to 40%, as well as increase her critical star drop rate. Since Artoria has the ability to generate her own stars with her intuition skill, and you can of course stack that with mystic codes and other supporters, giving her an opportunity to deal extra critical damage will help you, especially in longer fights. If you were lucky enough to pull Lancer Raiko, know that she is an absolutely excellent supporter as well for Artoria Altar. Cast Iron Yo-Yo will grant Artoria Altar Buster card effectiveness as well as remove any debuffs from her, which is great since Artoria doesn't really have a way to clear her own debuffs. Raiko's Summer Catastrophe skill will also increase her attack by 10 to 20% and increase her critical star drop rate as well. And Raiko's Noble Phantasm immediately grants critical stars that Artoria can use. And my apologies, but it is time we step into 5-star territory, and we are going to start there with the Berserker Florence Nightingale. Of course, veteran players will already know what I'm referring to, mainly the Angel's Cry skill, granting a 30 to 50% boost to Artoria's Buster card effectiveness for 3 turns. However, she also has recovery for Artoria in the form of Nurse of Steel, granting HP recovery, but also debuff and instant death immunity. Also, let's not forget Nightingale's very good Noble Phantasm Nightingale Pledge, which, much like Raiko's previous skill, will remove debuffs from Artoria, while also recovering her HP on top of that. When you get this upgraded, it also decreases the attack and NP strength of all enemies. That's some pretty strong support. JP players, these next 2 are for you, and I'd like to definitely start with Ibuki Doji. Ibuki Doji I mainly recommend because of her Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm, of course, is an AoE buster type like Artoria Altars, but also has the overcharge effect of decreasing the buster resists of all enemies by 20 to 40% for 3 turns. Which means if you follow up Ibuki Doji's Noble Phantasm with Artoria Altars, Artoria's Noble Phantasm is going to deal significantly more damage. Plus, you'll have all those turns of pure buster damage you're able to deal from both Artoria and Ibuki Doji. And where is mentioning Buster without mentioning the magnificent Queen Himiko? Himiko's Priestess Charisma skill grants attack to all allies and also grants 8 critical stars each turn for all allies. Critical stars that, of course, Artoria can make use of. But on top of that, Himiko also has the incredible Noble Phantasm Seishin Tararu Kyo, which I'm sure I butchered. This increases the Buster card effectiveness for all allies and increases NP overcharge level for all allies by 2, which means Artoria's Noble Phantasm will refund even more NP gauge after it's used. This also grants a nice boost to critical strength as well. When it comes to craft essences for Artoria, Kaleidoscope is a no-brainer. This is the main one you want to get, if at all possible, if you are using Artoria for farming. That starting 80 to 100% NP gauge is what allows Artoria to loop within the Koyanskaya system. So if you're really looking to future-proof her, make sure you have this combination ready to go. You might also just want to deal a lot of damage with your Noble Phantasm. You know it's going to be a long drawn-out fight. Well, in that case, try and focus her with the Black Grail. That NP damage boost is still unrivaled to this day. If you were lucky enough to get this craft essence, then you are ready to go on Artoria. Aerial Drive from one of the previous Halloween events. This grants Buster card effectiveness, NP strength, and a starting NP gauge. But don't think I forgot about people who have pulled Artoria recently. If you have Artoria, you will likely benefit from this craft essence on the Battle for New York 2021 Gacha on NA Round and Round. Round and Round is great because it increases Buster card effectiveness by 10%, increases increases the critical damage of strictly Buster cards by 15%, and allows Artoria to start a battle with a 40 to 50% NP gauge. That critical damage on Buster cards is going to be nice after you're generating those stars with that pumped up intuition skill that Artoria has, as well as anything from your supports. When it comes to Artoria's command codes, she doesn't have a lot of utility particularly, so let's go ahead and try to buff up that weakness using our command codes. We'll start off with White Vessel's Command Seal. The freebie equivalent of this is Code Cure. This removes a debuff when attacking using the engraved card. It's a nice way to piecemeal debuff cleanse throughout a fight. Of course, with Noble Phantasm damage being such a main component of Artoria's kit, you want Da Vinci Chan. This grants NP damage up by 15% for one turn when attacking using the engraved card. Remember, you have to use this before the Noble Phantasm fires off, but this always ends up being worth the damage trade-off. Sword of Beginning and End is also a very effective and cheap way to buff up Artoria's damage. This increases the damage of the card it's engraved on by 1000. It is a flat damage increase, remember, so it's not affected by critical damage or any sort of card effectiveness boost, but it's still a nice solid boost that's better than nothing. And of course, on Artoria's Buster cards, try to slide in some critical damage boosts wherever you can. Mistress of the Heavens is the primary recommendation, increasing the critical damage of any Buster card by 25%, but any command code that increases critical damage fits right at home on Artoria Alter's Buster cards. Overall, gang, Artoria is a decent 4-star damage dealing servant. When Koyanskaya launches, she finally reaches her true potential and gains the ability to farm through the double Koyanskaya system entirely on her own. So that is a definite appeal to using this character. Beyond that though, she's just an all-around solid saber. She's got the ability to refund some of her NP, she's got a boost to her Noble Phantasm, and her Buster cards that is going to help her deal increased damage, and overall, let's be real, gang, she is the poster girl of fate, albeit in a different form. So why wouldn't you want to go ahead and use her? All in all, this is a pretty bog standard saber. She is not super good, especially considering some that are going to come out later, but she is in no way particularly bad. She will absolutely serve all the sabering needs that you have as a master. But of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts about Artoria Alter down in the comment section below. Let me know if you think there are any craft essences, allies, or command codes I may have missed, and let me know if she is in particular your favorite incarnation of the King of Knights herself. I'm quite partial to Lancer Alter and Mysterious Heroine XX myself, but that is just me. Who do you think is the greatest incarnation of the King of Knights? If you want to talk more FGO, my Discord server is of course always open. I want to give a huge thanks to the patrons on Patreon, the subscribers and followers on Twitch, and of course you subscribers out there on YouTube. I really appreciate all of your support, and I really hope I can continue making videos for years for all of you that you will continue to enjoy and will continue to find helpful. Anyways, this is Kawaii50. I hope you're all having a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next video.